It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
We're taking it on the road. Steelers Afternoon Drive is live. Alan Saunders, boots on the ground in Atlanta for the Steelers preseason finale. Pittsburgh Steelers versus Atlanta Falcons. I'm Zachary Smith. That means that's Alan Saunders. What is going on?
We'll do it live. Do it live.
That's the GIF I used when I said we were doing it live.
We did not have a Steelers Afternoon Drive. We had a Steelers Afternoon Ride on an Uber in from the airport. We're firmly in park here at Mercedes Benz Stadium, just outside the press box. Got the seating bowl that stands behind me there a little bit, and got a good what I hope will be a quiet spot here up in this little catwalk. So lots of time to talk about Steelers and Falcons and all kinds of other nonsense that appears to be happening in the NFL today. It was like people woke up and chose not violence, they chose stupid. People woke up and chose stupid today, and I felt the need to clap back. So I'm sure we'll get to that.
We appreciate that, though. I think that it gives us something to talk about. I mean, if you're going to list the Steelers among the betting odds favorites for Trey Lance with a second-year Kenny Pickett, I think that you deserve to get roasted a little bit here.
Yeah. I wonder, like, the thing about those bets is that, like, you can't actually fade them, right? Like, you'd have to bet like every other team to make money on not betting that. But like, I would bet my house that the Steelers are not going to trade anything for Trey Lance. I don't even know if they would claim him on waivers. Like, I just the of all of the things in the world that they could possibly want to make this football team better, a project quarterback is not one of them. And I like Trey Lance. I loved him coming out of college. I liked the draft pick for the 49ers. I think he's a good player, but that's just absurd. Just absurd.
I want him in Minnesota. Not that this is a Vikings podcast, but I want him in Minnesota.
Minnesota makes sense. Vegas makes sense. I know it's interdivision, so it's tricky, but the Rams make sense. Maybe Seattle, like teams that have a guy who's like okay, but not their guy for the future. Sure, why wouldn't you take a chance on Trey Lance? And why wouldn't you trade, especially those reported Schefter said they're not looking for a lot. Like, okay, if you can get that guy for a little bit, make a move. Sure, makes sense. Not the Steelers. Like, no chance. None. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't even know what we're doing here.
What if we could flip Kendrick Green for Trey Lance, since Kendrick Green is apparently a trade target around the league?
Can he play wide receiver? Can he play center? Can Trey Lance snap the ball? Because he would then be the backup center if they traded Kendrick Green for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was some more nonsense today, too. Nick Faribault just wrote, as I was on my way in here at SteelersNow.com, that Kendrick Green was listed among the players that could be traded as we get down to roster cuts. Kendrick Green. I can't imagine anyone giving up. Look, he's a former third-round pick, and I think he will get another chance. There's no question in my mind about that. You can't have that pedigree and wash out of the league after one shot. It just never happened. But if anyone ever just played for it to happen to this point, it would be Kendrick Green. Like, he's not worth anything in a trade. Come on, get out of here. Now, we can talk about players I think the Steelers could trade. We have a little bit. We can continue to do that. They're not trading Kendrick Green, and they're not trading for Trey Lance. Let's just wager on that right now.
Okay. Yep.
And hey, we're live, so hit us up in the comments if you want to know.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Derek's already.
No, I Kendrick Green a fifth for someone else.
That's like an NHL style salary dump trade right there.
He doesn't make enough money for the salary to matter, but that's epic. Yeah, Kendrick Green a fifth for someone else. They could trade down whatever they gave the Rams to trade for Allen Robinson. It was like they swapped 7th-round picks or something. Just trade back. Just be like, no, we're going to go back seven picks in the 7th round here. You take them. We don't want them. Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's been overstated how bad Kendrick Green has been. He's not like he's an unrosterable guy, I don't think. He's just not a player the Steelers can rely on to be a center right now. But, I'll be honest, I keep looking at the 53, and I think it's it's more likely than a lot of people think that he ends up making this team, just because they don't have anybody else to be that full-time center. And if something major were to happen, they do have some flexibility with Daniels and with Herbig that they could maybe make a change. But they have not said that that's what their plan is. They've said with their words, with their actions, that the plan is Kendrick Green. So, I mean, you should probably believe them. And I do think there's a decent chance he ends up on this 53-man roster. But, yeah, I mean, I just not getting traded. That's for sure.
You mentioned some other guys, like, okay, if we really want to get into it, that we could see traded. Who would you mention within that group?
Kevin Dotson is the guy I've been on since the day they signed Isaac Seumalo. I just think he has too much starting experience, and unlike Kendrick Green, his starting experience is not terrible. Really, the only thing that was holding back Dodd from being a pretty good guard was consistency, right? It would be like 1 or 2 reps a game where he would lose focus, or it was a penalty, or it was some negative. But like the actual blocking, the reps that you're grading, they look fine. I think he's a playable guard in this league. I certainly think he's an above-average backup guard. If somebody needs one of those, like that position doesn't have a lot of value. That role doesn't have a lot of value. I don't think they'd get a lot for him. But I think they would be hesitant to cut him, even though how often does number 4 guard ever play? I think we had a conversation the other day about keeping your best 53. I think Kevin Dotson's one of their best 53, no question. But it's really hard to envision a scenario where he plays an important role for this team this year, right? I mean, you're talking about multiple interior offensive linemen suffering injuries at the same time. It just doesn't usually happen that way. So, he doesn't have a ton of value to the Steelers. He doesn't have a ton of value to other teams either, because guard is just not a premium position. Could he get a 7th-round pick back? Maybe. I think that's one of those ones where it's less about the offer than it is about, would you just rather have the depth than the draft pick? The draft pick is not worth very much.
Yeah. And not to say that this injury is going to linger or anything like that, but we've already seen Nate Herbig deal with a little bit of injury too.
I don't know if he could. And Dotson's hurt. He's not playing. He's the only guy, I'm sure, just not playing in this game. I don't even know if he could pass a physical to be traded right now. That's certainly an open question. He said he is not playing in this game. Hopes to be ready for the opener. That by giving him a week off, he'll be good to go. I don't know. I don't know what the injury is, and I don't know what the prognosis is. Mike Tomlin did not address it when he talked to us Tuesday afternoon, morning, 11:45, whatever he called it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's one. I think the other place is on the defensive line. I think Armon Watts, Mont Adams, Isaiah Loudermilk, to me, it's hard to see all 3 of those guys making the team. If you can get something for one of them, maybe you make a move. I don't know. I don't know that that's what they want to do. Maybe they try to sneak somebody through the practice squad. I don't know. But I think those are 3 NFL players. I don't think they keep 8 defensive linemen. Braden Fehoko, did I mention him? Yeah, you can throw him in there too. But I think those guys are players that may have some value to other teams that the Steelers could lose. And so maybe it would be behoove them to make a move there. Tight end, I mean, I haven't really heard any noise about this, but they did bring in a tight end for a workout the other day, seemingly out of the blue. Maybe somebody would be willing to throw something their way for Zach Gentry. I don't know. It's interesting, right? That's plausible. Trades are hard to predict in the NFL. They don't happen very often. So, for every 10 players I could throw out there that would be plausible for them to be traded, one every 5th year might actually get traded. It's just the way it works. There aren't that many of these moves that are made, but there are a couple guys there that I could see a pathway towards something happening for sure.
We did get a Bird sports fan says, what player is fighting for the 53-man the most tonight?
I think the toughest fights are in the secondary between Trey Norwood, Elijah Riley, Kenny Robinson, and Miles Killebrew, probably for 2 spots. I think that's pretty. I wrote, you can check it out at SteelersNow.com, but I wrote like the 6 open jobs that are still open, right? And that's not just 53-man spots, that's just jobs, right? So, Riley's kind of battling for that starting slot corner job with Shannon Sullivan. I would have Sullivan ahead right now. Then, you kind of figure they're going to keep a ninth defensive back, mostly based on where they want him to play as a defensive back, whether that's a fourth safety or a second slot corner. And in fact, Riley and Norwood kind of check both of those boxes, and Kenny Robinson maybe a little bit less, but more of like a strong safety and a free safety, while those other two guys are more like just free safeties. And then Killebrew, just a strong safety to me, is not really in the conversation for that role, but just in terms of making the team as a defensive special teamer, Killebrew, you could include all those other guys, Riley, Norwood, Robinson, and then some linebackers too. Tanner Muse, Nick Kwiatkowski, Quincy Roche, would be in the mix there. So really, I think there's 2 spots on the 53 that are really up for grabs on defense, and that's the sort of last. We know one of the 2 guys, Sullivan and Riley, will be the starting slot corner. Then there's one more DB that I think will make it on DB terms, and then one more defensive player that'll make it on special teams terms. To me, that's like the one sort of roster battle that we have to set up here. And then the other one is on offense. Is it Kendrick Green? If it's not Kendrick Green, is it Spencer Anderson? Or is it Dylan Cook? Or do they keep a 6th wide receiver? And if they don't keep a 6th wide receiver, then is it Miles Boykin or is it Gunnar Olszewski? So I think that, that's kind of the way I characterize those battles, and then that 7th, trying to not be the 8th defensive lineman between the guys I mentioned before. Those to me are the real position battles to watch. So kind of 2 spots on offense, 5th wide receiver, and then is it a 6th wide receiver or a 9th offensive lineman? The 7th D-line spot, and then those 2 spots in the secondary, I think, and then the slot corner starting job. That's where I'm looking in terms of guys that are battling for jobs. There's lots of guys that are trying to make the practice squad. Too many to really handicap, especially the 16 practice squad spots. But I don't think you're going to see as much of those guys in this game. Mike Tomlin's going to play the starters. I expect the starters, especially the younger starters, to play close to a half. Maybe not the Cam Hayward, Pat Peterson, Minka Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, Allen Robinson types, but guys that are, younger starters, I expect to play close to a full half. And then really after that, I think you're going to see the backups probably also get close to a full half. So, guys like Ant McFarland, Connor Hayward, Mitch Trubisky, Gunnar and Boykin, and Calvin Austin, the whole second team offensive line, I think they'll probably play most of a half as well. I don't really think you will see the kind of bottom of the roster guys a whole lot outside of special teams, which is where those guys need to perform to make the roster anyway. Mike Tomlin talked about this week. He said, what do you lose from that not having a 4th preseason game? He basically said it's an opportunity to see those guys on special teams. So last week, I think Luke Barku and Quincy Roche were the 2 players that only played special teams. I think you're going to see a lot more of that this week, where it's like more of the 2s deep into the second half. And those guys that are on the 3rd team right now, if they play at all, will play just on special teams as they try to highlight their ability to make the team in that kind of role, or make the practice squad as a backup for one of those roles as well.
It's funny. Well, you kind of went into it with the receiver thing, but the next question we had from Unidentified Gamer was 5 or 6 wide receivers. What are we thinking?
I think it really just depends on, like, I don't know. I'm really up in the air on this one. I think this is a tough battle. I really, I think Gunnar has been – I can't leave Gunnar off. I'll say that. I can't leave Gunnar off to 53. He brings special teams value and has been clearly the 5th best wide receiver on the team. So I can't leave Gunnar off. I guess the question is, does Miles Boykin make it as an offensive special teamer? When you've already got Connor Hayward, you've already got Gentry, you've already got Ant McFarland and Jalen Warren, there are other offensive special teamers there. Do they need, and Gunnar and Calvin Austin, obviously, do they need another offensive special teamer? Do they think they need Boykin for that role? if they do, then it probably comes at the expense of that last offensive lineman. And again, you know, one injury can change this, one trade can change this, but that's the way I see things shaking out right now. If I was picking the team, I think I would take the extra lineman. I don't think it's that hard to find a wide receiver that can cover kicks. I think linemen that know your system and know their potential teammates if they needed to play are a lot more valuable than a kick gunner. But I don't get paid the big bucks, so it's not my call.
Well, I think also, too, the inside-outside versatility of guys like Allen Robinson gives you that capability to not carry Boykin, too, because without that, I'd be asking, okay, who's the backup on the outside then? But Robinson's ability to move out there.
I think it's that, and it's just being a backup at a spot doesn't matter if it's not quality depth. You know what I mean? And I do not think that Boykin had a very good camp. I thought I thought Cody White had been a better receiver. Honestly, I think Des Fitzpatrick has been a better receiver. And so that doesn't, for me, just because that's the slot he fills, if it's not quality depth, then it's kind of irrelevant.
Same also from unidentified gamer. What do we make of Leal?
I think he's on the team. I think his role is still very much up for grabs. You know, he's going to have to be one of those guys that performs well in limited reps. Then to write about him this week, and short week with travel is just murder. And I did not get the time, but I talked to Terrell Austin about him and how, man, I've got a good lead for this story. I don't know if I want to give it away here. Should I give it away? I think I should because it's good. It's good. I'll tease the story here. So We've been talking since the Steelers drafted DeMarvin Leal. We've been talking about what is his position. Is he an edge rusher? Is he a defensive tackle? Is he a defensive end? And my lead to the story is the right answer is his position is relief pitcher. And not because the Pirates bullpen is dog shit, but because when you are a relief pitcher, one of the characteristics that the manager in baseball looks for, that first guy to come in, they want someone that's very different than the starter, right? If you're throwing some soft tossing right-hander as your starting pitcher, he goes out in the sixth inning, you know the other team's lineup has been optimized to go up against a soft tossing right-hander, and these players have been looking at a soft tossing right-hander for 6 innings. So if you have a mediocre option who's another soft tossing right-hander, you're conceding the advantage. What you really want is now you want a lefty that throws 100, right? Like that's what you want to go to after you've had that guy in there. And I think more so than what position he plays, that is the role that DeMarvin Leal is going to fill, because no matter where he goes, he's going to be very different, right? If you've been facing the quickness of a TJ Watt all game, and then you have to deal with the strength of a DeMarvin Leal for 10 reps, that's different. If you've been dealing with the brute force and immobility of Larry Ogunjobi and Cam Hayward all game, and you have to then go with the comparatively higher speed, hotter motor guy in Leal, that's different, right? And he's not going to get a ton of reps. He's not a starter. He's like a 10 rep at end, 10 rep at tackle, 10 rep at edge on a great day for him kind of guy. And so I think it's really like he's the changeup. He's the guy that you bring in that is different than the starter, that brings a different look, that gives a matchup problem to the other side, no matter where he fits. And he doesn't need to fit the archetypal body type for any of those positions to fill that very specific role. I think he's going to be very good at it. I think his personality fits it perfectly. He's a high energy guy, talks a little crap, he gets on people's nerves. Like to me, he fits. I could see DeMarvin Leal with a bullpen entrance, right? Like this is a guy with a little bit of flair for his job. I think he's a relief pitcher. I think we finally cross out the DE, the DL, the edge, RP. I have to find out if he's righty or lefty though.
As soon as he steps on the field, Thunderstruck just starts playing throughout the stadium.
I don't know. Marv feels more like a hip hop guy to me. I don't know.
Well,
but it's got to be some sort of anthemic, stadium sound in the same way that a closer's entrance music does. And so I think that's the role for him, and I think it's good. And I think I just narrated my entire story, but read it when I write it, because that's how I make money at this.
Ram said, I finally made a live. Hello, everyone. Go Steelers. Great. Ask a question while you're here as well.
Ram, this is the first live, so you didn't finally make a live. You are in the inaugural live Steelers afternoon drive, and maybe if the people like it, we'll do it more. I don't know. It's not like the technology is that much more difficult for us.
There we go.
It's
Nick Faribault coming through.
Dreams and nightmares. I don't know. Could be.
You mentioned Gentry earlier. Some Berg sports fan again. They should look to trade Gentry, but still carry the extra tight end and Rodney Williams. Really think he's an NFL capable tight end.
I love Rodney Williams, and I completely agree. I doubt that they would do that, but I speculated in that article about them bringing in Noah Gindorf, who I really liked coming out of North Dakota State as a blocking tight end. Obviously, I don't really know what they're looking at him now because they got Darnell Washington, who's a great blocking tight end. But when they were looking at him, I said, maybe they're worried that Rodney Williams gets claimed on waivers, because he's been so good that they only have the 5. They're going to probably keep 4. They will want to have 1 on the practice squad. So, I think the reason for that workout was probably, hey, what happens if Rodney gets claimed? We still need to be able to put a tight end on the practice squad. Let's take a look at the guy. And I think his strong play is the reason that we're seeing that, because he's been really good all training camp. I mean, he's an NFL player. I really believe that. Well,
Berg sports fan does as well, with looking to trade Gentry in order to keep him. So that's an interesting thought. All right, we'll wait for some more comments to come in, obviously, too, but we can start to talk about things that you would like to see from the Steelers here in their preseason finale. We should also highlight that the Falcons will not be playing their starters, so we won't have that level of competition against them. But
did you see my tweet? Can you put my tweet up? Because my tweet is so good.
Yeah, give me one sec. I don't know if I saw it, but
okay, this is good.
So I'll be seeing it for the first time as well. How long ago was this?
Like 3 tweets ago.
Oh, did I scroll past it? Going live here, Steelers Center. Their fears. All right, hold on.
It's the date line on the tweet. There is.
They are living in them.
Yeah, their fears, Georgia. We're here.
So that's any of their starters.
Yeah, apparently, reportedly, according to the Athletic Falcons report, no starters for. Yeah, I like that one though.
Feeling good about it.
Yeah, that's it's a really frustrating part about the NFL preseason. You can't control what the other team's going to do, and obviously they have the right to treat it however they want to treat it and prioritize things in a way that they want to prioritize things. But it just really sucks if you're a team that's trying to go out here and play. They honestly need to, when the NFL is looking into make these, and the NFL schedule these games now, the teams used to be able to schedule themselves. I don't know why the NFL decided they needed to take that on. But they should really try to feel these teams out and match up teams with similar preseason philosophies so that you get teams that are going to play their starters that actually get to play starters. I really thought, look, we know Mike Tomlin and Sean McDermott have a relationship. Obviously, they've been college roommates, right? Or something like that. College teammates, anyway. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was a coincidence that they were in lockstep with how they approached that game. And now, obviously, Arthur Smith is not. Again, different coaches have different things they want to get out of this, but who is Atlanta so worried about getting hurt? They don't even have any good players. Like, where's the TJ Watt that you're trying to put in bubble wrap on that roster?
Hey, they don't need to see any more from Desmond Ridder. They've seen enough.
Right?
QB1. I don't get it.
Cordell Patterson, I guess, probably doesn't need to play. Like, okay, that's fair. Tyler Algier is a second-year running back. Bijan Robinson's a rookie running back. Like, those guys probably need to play
Drake
some.
London.
Kyle Pitts, like, it's a young team. I don't know if you're picking a team to not play in the preseason, that is not it for me. I think that's a mistake from a young coach. We've seen time and time again teams come out and be awful at the beginning of the year. And this is a Falcons team that, look, is not that good, is not that experienced, but also has a unique position. Their division's horrible. All they really have to do is win the games they should win, and they get a playoff spot. So, but you put yourself in a position where you can't give one away. They don't have they don't have enough talent to have mulligans. So I don't really know what they're doing with this strategy, but I don't expect it to work well for them.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, maybe Grady Jarrett can sit or something like that. AJ Terrell's pretty well established now, but like even Jesse Bates, like, he just got there.
Guys. Even Jesse Bates, I would want to see for a series or two. I bet Minka's going to play a series or two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. I don't think you can play this game and be afraid of it. I think that is like, I'm an analytics guy. I'm an information guy. I think I approach my job and sports as business, and business runs on information. I think one of the reasons I love football is that it's an unsolvable problem. No amount of information adds up to the perfect recipe. And I think it's really hard to come out here and do this job every day with the mindset of being afraid of it. I really, when Mike Tomlin says we don't live in our fears, I think that more than anything is what he's talking about, is that I really don't think you can run away from football and then win at football. I think you have to embrace it. I think you have to embrace its flaws. You have to embrace the fact that that you're going to lose players to injury over the course of the season, and you have to have backups that are ready, and that's what great teams do. I don't know. I think this is a sport where those things matter, and I think smart people miss the forest for the trees there when they're talking about trying to play football without playing football.
I agree. Ram, okay, thank you. Yeah, he said he made a live Go Steelers. I said ask a question. Here we go. What do you think? Who do you think will make the roster? Eli or Solly or both, and what their role would be?
If I had to pick the winners of those battles right now, I would say that Shannon Sullivan is the starting slot. Eli Riley makes the team as the all-purpose DB, and Miles Killebrew makes the team as the special teamer, cutting Kenny Robinson, Trey Norwood, Tanner Muse, and Nick Kwiatkowski. That's the way I'd handicap it right now. We still got one of these to go. It's an important one. Are there people that have a job wrapped up walking into the stadium here today? Yeah, a lot of them. Of the 53, maybe 45. But of those jobs that are still open, this is heavily weighted in terms of the evaluation process. You can certainly upset that order with a good game today or with a bad game today. No question in my mind about that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we didn't get anything else in here. So was there anything else that like jumped off the page to you where you're thinking about right now, like you need to see in this game from the Steelers? Again, it's like hard because the level of competition, but
I'm interested to see, even if they don't play quote unquote starters, like the Falcons are going to have a good running back no matter what. Like they've got three of them between Patterson and Robinson and Algier. I don't know who is going to play among those three. I guess they call Patterson the starter on the depth chart. Maybe that means Robinson plays anyway. Certainly, I think we'll see Algier. I think they're going to have a good running back in the game no matter what. I think it'll be a strong test for the Steelers' run defense in a way that we really haven't seen yet. Tampa Bay is awful. Buffalo, notably, thinks at running the ball, even though they're good at everything else, right? And when they do run, it's with Allen, which they're not going to do in a preseason game. I think this will be the first time we'll see the Steelers defense against a running back-centric rushing attack. And I think that's pretty important because the first 3 weeks they play San Francisco, Cleveland, and the Las Vegas Raiders, which all have running back-centric rushing attacks. This is very much preparation for the early part of the season. And specifically, hopefully, I mean, if Patterson plays, I mean, that's the closest thing in the world there is to Deebo Samuel. So, I mean, I think that's there's certainly an opportunity for them to show a lot of things that they're going to need to show early in the season on defense. In terms of offense, I put on Twitter this morning, I'm interested to see what a 2-minute drill looks like. That's the one thing we haven't seen from the starting offense. I would like to see one with Pickett. You know, kind of a crazy thought, but, like, hear me out here. I've been covering Kenny Pickett for a long time. My general feelings about him is that he is less impressive in low-stakes situations than in high-stakes situations. He is not a technician. He is a person that rises to the occasion. And if he's been this good in, like, dumpy preseason games, like, is there another level there? Like, what happens when we get to clutch Kenny now? Processing this out sort of scientifically, either he's just figured out how to be clutch Kenny all the time, even when the game doesn't matter, which is a very good sign, or he's gotten so much better that there is another level to his play that we haven't even seen yet. That's sort of tantalizing to me. I think I would like to see that. Yeah, I think I would. I would like to see that. 7 game-winning touchdown drives in the last touchdown, not just game-winning drives, game-winning touchdown drives in the last 2 minutes or overtime in his time at Pitt. 2 as a rookie last year. People don't talk enough about how clutch Kenny Pickett is, and all of this hype that has come out of nowhere, seemingly, because nobody talked about the Steelers all offseason until 3 drives of their offense in the preseason. Yeah. Now they're everybody's darlings. All of this hype is sort of accepting the thing that he is the very best at, right? We haven't even got to see that yet. So I'm kind of curious about that.
I read this comment late, and then I realized it meant Kenny Robinson because Rams said, hate to see Kenny go. Makes sense. Kenny Robinson, that is, not Kenny Pickett.
I do, too. He was
I think Kenny
good.
Pickett's pretty safe.
Given Kenny's on the team, I think Kenny Robinson could, like, walk through the owner's box and flip Art Rooney's hat off, and it'd probably still be fine, you know. I think Kenny Robinson is a tough cut for me, man. I love everything he brings to the table. There's just too many good guys, and I think probably less experienced on special teams than guys like Riley and Killebrew. Maybe he goes out here and blocks a punt today, though. Maybe he makes it. I don't know. That's a really tough cut for me. A guy I really like, too, and I would be hopeful that they could keep him around the practice squad because I think he brings a lot to the table in terms of a backup safety. Like if Minka gets hurt, I'd want Kenny Robinson around ahead of some of those other guys. He just does not bring it as much to the table in terms of being a versatile option and a special teams option that would be used every day. You know, he's a guy that if he did make the team, may not get a helmet, you know. So I don't know. It's a very tough cut. He's been very good.
Practice squad though? The Rams.
Yeah, I would. If they cut him, I think they would be very much hoping that he makes it to the practice squad.
Gotcha. Okay. Any final thoughts as we wrap up here?
Cool stadium, cool city. Always bonkers. And
any rides? Any rides? You see any?
No, like I said, I took the Uber in, so I kind of the parking situation is like, you know, downtown, lots of parking garages, hard on the rides. But I've got this though. So when I get back, we're gonna have Nick Faribault on the show tomorrow. When I get back on Monday, I was going through some pictures from last December, looking for the pictures from the game here, last December 4th, and I found Ed Thompson's our photographer. Found some of Ed's pictures from the aftermath of the death of Franco Harris. And one picture we need to talk about.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that for Monday.
You
guys got to wait a little bit. There's a few days. Like Alan said, it'll be Nick Faribault on here tomorrow with me as Alan travels back from the game. But I think that does it. Alan, you can tell the people where they could find you.
At @Saunders_PGH on Twitter, at PGH Steelers Now on Twitter, at PGH Steelers Now on YouTube, which is where this podcast lives, as well as the rest of our content. There'll be post-game videos from the locker room here tonight and tomorrow morning, and I'll have a stand-up from here tonight and all kinds of stuff. And then SteelersNow.com is where all the words live. Read those, That's how I get paid.
There you go. Yeah, all the video content right here. So subscribe, leave us a like, hit that notification bell, comment down below. For all the listeners, this still will be put up as a podcast for you to listen to as well. Back tomorrow, Nick Faribaugh and I, Steelers Afternoon Drive. But I'm Zachary Smith, PGH. That's Alan Saunders. Until tomorrow, we'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.